Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Williams, the Library Services Coordinator for the Copper Queen Library, and welcome to Poetry Month and poet Leah Mueller. I'm so excited. Leah has relocated to Bisbee from the Pacific Northwest, and it has started a poetry scene or added to our poetry scene. Leah has started a spoken word open mic at the Hitching Post on the first Sunday of the month. And that's a very exciting thing. Bisbee used to be known for the Bisbee Poetry Festival, and poets like Allen Ginsberg were here, and many other greats. And so Bisbee has a long tradition of poetry. And so I'm so excited to have a poet like Leah, poet and author. She is the author of 10 prose and poetry books. Her latest book is called The Land of Eternal Thirst, which features Bisbee-inspired stories. And the title is a poem in and of itself. I love that title. It was just released last year, and Leah's work is published in Rattle, in Midway Journal, the Citron Review, the Spectacle, Miracle Monocle, Outlook Springs Atticus Review, Your Impossible Voice, and more. Her work has also appeared in Trees, Shop Windows in Scotland, poetry subscription boxes, and literary dispensers throughout the world. And you can see her work and visit her website at leahmueller.com. And before we begin, Leah, when you say your work has appeared on Trees, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yes, that was a thing that was going on in Michigan for a while, for several years running, actually, until COVID put the kibosh on it. But what they would do is they would choose poems and then kind of print them on leaf-shaped pieces of paper and then laminate them against, weather, because they would be up in the trees for like 2 or 3 weeks. And so this was just kind of in this office park somewhere outside of Detroit, one of those suburbs, I forget which one. And there's this great big office park with lots and lots of trees. So that was the site for Poetry Feast, and I mean not poetry, I mean for Poetry Tree, and that was I got to see it one year. Actually walked around and looked at it, which was really great. But most of the time it's a little far away for me to actually go view it in person.
Oh, it's still wonderful. I love site-specific public art installation, and especially the use of poetry in creating public art so that you have the poetry accessible. Um, I'm a great believer in poetry for everyone. So I am so excited that you are joining us tonight for this reading. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I will, without further ado, go ahead and get started. I'm hoping you can all see me okay. You can all see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the first one that I'm going to read is an account of what happened, a little incident that happened when I was on a trip all the way from Los Angeles to Chicago on Route 66 last summer. And of course, I had to start in Tucumcari, or I had to stay in Tucumcari because, well, if you're passing down Route 66, it's kind of a must-stay place. And this was kind of a little brief moment of Satori. Tucumcari Satori. Toad hopped away from the gas campfire, made its way in my direction. A purposeful beast, Toad had watched the flames from a safe distance and determined it was free from threat. It paused for a moment like a stray cat and allowed me to stroke its back. Toad was in no hurry to leave. I worried it might be stunned by a second-story balcony drop from the nearby Roadrunner Motel. The owners pumped 60s commercials nonstop through vintage radio speakers and monitored their ice dispenser for scofflaws. Toad was zen. Toad had been around the parking lot before. It took off finally, hopping through the uneven gravel towards the office in full view of predators. Amphibian on a mission. There could be moisture behind the washing machine or some discarded vegetable matter. You take what you can find in the desert, especially if you're born without spikes and claws. Toad hops. That is its only defense. Meanwhile, I can barely climb the wrought iron staircase to my $100 mattress. Once there, it will take hours for me to get comfortable. I imagine Toad's sleep will be deeper than mine. All right. I'll go on to the next one. Let's see if I can find it. I've been doing the NaNoWriMo thing on Poetry Feast with a group that I administrate on Facebook. And it's been quite fun. And I've managed to, hello? Are you still there? Is everyone still there?
We're all still here. I just let someone else in the
Oh, terrific. Okay. At any rate, I am an administrator on Poetry Feast on Facebook, and we've been doing the NaNoWriMo 30 Poems in 30 Days challenge. And this is the first one that got accepted for publication. It just went up yesterday on a wonderful magazine called Whiskey Blot that is brand new. It's called Motel Heart. Someone always wants to live inside me, though I don't understand why. A folded up part of them lies tucked within my body like a glove compartment map. Unfold the sections, smooth the creases. Look for the lines where cities intersect, somewhere between the rest area and the next exit, beyond the sign that reads food, gas, lodging. I never learned how to stay empty, never could bear the sight of cars passing by without stopping. My light shines for others, extinguished only when there is no longer room for one more exhausted traveler searching for a snug place to sleep. All right. Here's another one. This one I just wrote yesterday, and it's a sad one. So just letting you know. And my husband recently died almost a year ago, actually, from cancer. And I still have these dreams about it. So this poem is called In My Dreams, You Are Still Dying. In my dreams, you are still dying, but I leave the room, miss the moment of your departure. You shuffle about, reluctant. Eyes downcast, you cling to chairs and walls, then stumble. I'm unable to catch you. Your frail body runs through my fingers like water. I scatter your ashes along the Pacific at the edge of your savage homeland that spit you out like a seed. You never felt good enough to be anywhere. Each house was too small, each workplace untenable. Now, in different waves, accept your fragments without question, turning what's left of you into sand. I am doomed to a body, that familiar bulk with its animal vexations. I tow its weight and pay for its maintenance. The void has swallowed your remains like you always knew it would. Each star holds one of your molecules. The ocean will wash away the rest. Okay. And then I'm going to follow this up with a happier poem, which is in fact called How to Be Happy Again. I wrote it about a year ago, actually, and it's a list poem. So I'll see if I can remember how to count. We're starting with number 1. 1, forget everything you know, the sum of your resentments, your sour, arms crossed intransigence, the way your fangs gleam in the dark when you frighten yourself. 2, go somewhere different. Stay in the nicest hotel. Order hot fudge sundaes from room service and swim naked in the pool. 3, rearrange your emotional furniture. Throw away that roll of film you've kept in the bottom drawer of your unconscious for 2 decades. You will never get around to developing it. 4, don't look at your blocked list on Facebook. Chances are good that you can't even remember those people, let alone the reasons for your resentment. Their once familiar names are stacked in a row like downed trees after a storm. Beyond the clouds, a flash of sun. 5, watch Gene Kelly in a deluge, kicking water at the camera. A cop arrives and Kelly apologizes, wanders sheepishly in the direction of home. Seconds later, he's dancing again. 6, cook your favorite meal. Light several candles. Wear your fanciest outfit. Sit beside yourself and profess undying devotion. Don't forget dessert. 7, when misery shows up, and he will, be polite. Give him a comfortable chair and a cup of coffee. Listen to his sob story and nod. Then slip out your back door and walk as fast as you can in the opposite direction. He'll catch up with you, but at least you can enjoy the trees in the meantime. All right. I've got another numbered poem. You can probably tell that I love these. This is a whimsical one dedicated to a small plastic hippo that I once found on the floor of my car. And the name of it is 7 Ways of Looking at a Hippopotamus. 1, the absurdity of being so round with such an eager mouth. The hippo looks like it's about to bite into something, but it's also smiling, like it's goddamn delighted to be the most ridiculous animal in the room. 2, relentlessly positive New Agers see these beasts as noble creatures. Their essays claim that hippos mean confident problem solving. The hippopotamus can even be your spirit animal, and it would be thrilled. It's watching you now with bulging eyes from just above the waterline, hoping that you'll say yes. 3, you can't rhyme anything with hippopotamus. Don't even try. You can barely spell the word. 4, you're barreling down the interstate. A plastic hippo rides in your car well. You keep meaning to glue the hippo's feet to your dashboard, but that's only a thought that comes and goes with no real intention. The hippo is too small to solve your problem, so it goes into hiding under your driver's seat. Months later, it creeps out to see if the coast is clear. Nothing has changed. It tumbles into the back and lies on its side, lazy and smiling amongst the bits of paper and stale abandoned crumbs. 5, the DOT screwed up and they think you're driving without insurance. They wrote you a nasty letter filled with unfounded accusations. You want to tell them that you don't need insurance because you have Hippo energy. The sad fact is that you do have insurance, but you don't have Hippo energy, which is why you must prove to the DOT flunkies that they made a mistake. You might need a bigger hippopotamus. 6, it would be kinder to bring the plastic hippo inside. Once the hippopotamus is in your living room, it looks even smaller than it did in the car. Its tiny bulk threatens to melt into your walls. You place it on your table beside a candle made from prickly pear scented wax and an old El Pato hot tomato sauce can. The hippo looks happy, but that's nothing unusual. 7, dusk falls and you light the candle. The hippo flickers in the faint light. You're glad you finally rescued it. You're not yet ready for an actual pet, but you could form a decent bond with a plastic one. The hippo likes your table even better than the floor of your car. Its beady eyes glow with contentment. Neither of you have to say a word. You have already told each other everything you need to know. All right. Okay. Well, I am glad to see a couple more people are in. Great. I'm going to read a couple of my older poems. One of them is from my book, of course, it's backwards, Cocktails at Denny's, which is available to purchase through me, or it is also available to purchase at Bisbee Books and Music if you happen to live in town. So I've got a couple poems that I dug up that I wrote about Bisbee or about Arizona while I was still living in Washington State, which is pretty interesting because though I was obviously familiar with Bisbee at that point, I never really imagined that I would be moving to Bisbee. I would have been quite surprised if somebody had suggested that to me. And it was kind of like I knew it unconsciously, as the next two poems might indicate. This first one, which is from Cocktails at Denny's, is called Arizona Homecoming. The Greyhound bus pulled into Reno 12 hours late during a blizzard. My 3-year-old son and I started our tour in Port Orchard, escaping to Arizona for an unplanned midwinter vacation. The brake drums froze in Klamath Falls, and our driver thawed them with a hairdryer. 2 men fought in the center aisle about the bathroom smell, while another entertained writers with a monologue about robbing banks and convenience stores. He and his compatriots wore opaque pantyhose over their heads to disguise their identities. So the illustrious band of thieves was known throughout Nevada as the Silver Stocking Gang. My son and I spent the night at Circus, watched bored clowns sway on ragged trapezes for minimum wage plus tips. Nolan didn't mention the obvious. We'd fled his dad and escaped south, just like all the other losers. But unlike them, someone would meet us at our destination. My mother hovered in the corner smoking section of the Tucson Greyhound station, cigarette blazing in one hand, ready to take us to breakfast at the Congress Hotel. The next day, We watched Bill Clinton's inauguration on television, and my mother said, "This is the beginning of real change in our country." It almost makes me glad she died before she had the chance to be disappointed. Okay. We have another book called Death and Heartbreak that I also have available at the same places that I mentioned before. And it features a poem called Cafe Roca that I obviously, for you Bisbee-ites, would know that Cafe Roca is this excellent restaurant located in the middle of Bisbee, a place I used to always love to go eat at when I would come to visit. But when I was here in 2015, just ever so briefly, I had this brief flash that I guess it was 2016. But anyway, I had this brief flash that I was home and that Washington wasn't actually home at all, but that Bisbee was. And I had no idea where that even came from, that feeling. And my husband was quite perplexed at the time. That was before his diagnosis. So none of us had any idea that we'd be moving anywhere. And the name of this poem, which is very prescient, is called Cafe Roca. A desert dessert of green sorbet in a small glass cup, while outside the mountains disappear and the turrets vanish into black. Unlearning noise takes time, and you have less of it than ever. The Pluto line of death and minds runs underneath the soil, buried, yet moving. You perch above the fault line, spoon poised in midair. Try not to fall off your chair. Someday, you will die here like your ancestors, or make a clean getaway and be forgotten in an instant, like the dust of bones. Meanwhile, the sorbet rolls down your throat and keeps you alive for a while longer, until the check finally arrives. Okay. Well, I just want to let people know a little bit of an advertisement here. I am going to be reading at the Bisbee Library at Copper Queen, right in the middle of downtown Bisbee, as part of the poetry series for April on the balcony, Friday, April 15th at 12 p.m. So what that is that poets go up into the balcony and we have presumably a little microphone and we read our poetry out loud for about half an hour. And then everybody who's strolling by on the street, maybe checking their mail, maybe going and getting some coffee at the Bisbee Coffee Company, or just standing around. Sometimes people do in Bisbee without doing much of anything. We'll have this chance to like look up into the sky to the balcony, second story balcony where the library is, and hear my words. So I'm very excited about that. So if any of you are still on here that are from Bisbee, absolutely feel free to come on by. And then also, again, I wanted to let people know that I do have my books for sale, and Death and Heartbreak, and Cocktails at Denny's, and several other books if you're interested. So please do shoot me an inbox letter through Facebook if we're connected, or just otherwise let me know if you're interested in making a purchase. So I want to thank everybody. Go ahead.
Thank you, Leah. And also, we now have several of your books in the Copper Queen Library collection available for checkout, which I'm very excited about, and excited about having you on the balcony for the balcony scene. And I just wondered if anybody has any questions or comments about your work. I want to thank you. I love hearing your work and I love the way you read. Um, and well, I had several thoughts, but one I just realized about Cafe Roca. Um, I love Cafe Roca as well, but it's right on Main Street, right across the street from the Copper Queen Library. Um, and you mentioned something in the poem. I wonder if you knew that Main Street is actually the dividing line between two tectonic plates. So they talk about the continental divide, but in fact, Main Street is the line between these two plates. And so you kind of alluded to a similar thing in your poem. I wonder if you knew that.
Oh, when I said perch above the fault line, no, actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally a fault line. And in fact,
Whoa.
yeah, it's so interesting that you were sitting there on that dividing line and wrote that, not just metaphorically, but it is literally true. So in Bisbee, especially in Old Bisbee, um, they say, which side of Tombstone Canyon or Main Street do you live on? Um, there's the scorpion side and the cockroach side. And so I thought when I first moved here, that's so odd. But then I figured out I think I live on the scorpion side. um, and the reason for that is because they are two different, subtly different environments with different soil makeups and different plant life, and in fact, different ecosystems. So that kind of anecdotal story about which side you live on is actually a very deep divide between these two plate shifts. So one side is rising and one side is sinking.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I guess it's just been pressing on a lot of different levels that I wasn't even aware of when I was sitting and writing that poem from where I lived in Tacoma at the time. And so I may also very well literally die here like my ancestors. So we'll see how
So
that goes. So hopefully no time, not anytime soon.
no,
So
but so prescient. And also thank you for sharing your poems and your personal story about your husband and honoring his life through your art. I think it's really, poetry is one of those art forms that allows you to dive deep into that heartbreak or those deep emotions, but encapsulate it in a small jewel rather than extending, the story deeper and like that's why I love poetry, because you can just capture this really intense thing and speak
mhm.
about it without um, breaking yourself as a poet. That you can say it, but not, uh, you don't have to dwell in it because the poem itself can capture it and and
Yes.
and keep it for you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Leah? Well,
Yes,
oh, I
thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for sticking it out for the whole thing. We kind of did a last minute put together of this yesterday, so
yes,
I was glad for people to come and listen, and hope to appear on the program again at some point.
yes, definitely, Leah. We'd love to have you back and with more notice. But I'm really excited. This will be on the Copper Queen Library YouTube channel, and Leah will be on the balcony on the 15th. So, and I just want to thank you all for joining us, and Leah for your words and your heart and bringing your poetry to us in this community. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, I just had a friend join, so is it okay for me to read one more poem?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, then I will do that because Yeah, a friend of mine is a little late to the party. It's okay. So I'm going to read a poem from Death and Heartbreak called Half of You that I wrote about 5 years ago. When you meet your shadow, be sure to be friendly. Make certain your shadow is comfortable. Ask who it loves and who it hates. You already know the answers, but it will twist the narrative and make up a bogus story. You will believe the story. Spend some time in bed with your shadow. You will want to know how it presses against your exposed skin, how it looks when it can't see itself. In the morning, eat breakfast together. Observe the shadow in its bathrobe beside the sink, backside safely covered. Ignore the rings under your eyes and your half-eaten body. The shadow has grown to twice its normal size. Listen to the shadow when it launches its narrative. Most will be repeats of stories you have heard 100 times. You will nod with agreement. Its stories are yours as well. You will run into the shadow in the strangest places. Walking towards you on the sidewalk at a brisk pace, colliding and claiming it was an accident, or beside you on the mattress, inhaling the same air. Observe its shallow breath, deepening as the shadow grows closer to sleep. You will want to leave the shadow. It will cling moss-like to your neck and shoulders, its flavor inside your bloodstream. After you have told the shadow everything, it will make its home in your body. You will give it plenty of room. Now, the shadow is yours to keep. You will forget everything you know and move backwards into fugue. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Those are my snaps. Thank
And
you so much.
you're very welcome. And hopefully I'll see everybody again somewhere. And I'm sure I'll see you, Allison, like probably
Yes,
sooner rather
we
than
will.
later.
We'll see you
Friday
soon.
at 12. All right.
And just everybody remember to put a little poetry into your life on a daily basis. Read a line or even just stop and look around you and notice a detail in your environment and take a deep breath and remember that you are a poem and poems exist all around us. And it's really just about stopping and noticing that they're there. So thank you so much. Enjoy Poetry Month and extend poetry into the rest of the year and the rest of your days.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Good
All
night.
right. I'm going to take off. Bye-bye.
Bye.